Natural disasters can strike at any time with little or no warning. These events are unavoidable and can lead to thousands of deaths and billions in damages. It's not a matter of if, but when and where the next disaster will strike. We need to make sure we're ready and that we can recognize and understand how different media outlets choose to report the next inevitable disaster. Hi, I'm Nathan Lozano, and this is Brock Williams, and we're going to tell you about the Fukushima disaster of 2011. So what happened was, on March 11th, 2011, a massive 9.0 magnitude earthquake hit near the coast of Japan, sending shockwaves and tsunamis to the east coast towards an area roughly 136 miles north of Tokyo called Fukushima. When they got to the nuclear plant, 45-foot waves swamped the 19-foot seawalls. Of the 6 reactors, 3 lost power and were unable to cool. These 3 experienced full meltdown.
While the effects of this natural disaster and nuclear meltdown are devastating in themselves, we're going to discuss the differences in how international media sources covered and portrayed the events immediately following the disaster, as well as right now. The outlets we'll primarily discuss are the Japan Times and CNN. Before discussing the media coverage, we need to understand the state of the media and politics in the primary area, Japan.
We know what you're thinking: rice fields, samurais, sushi, etc., but that's not a good description of the political background or state of media of Japan. Modernization has actually left Japan in a technologically advanced culture similar to here in the United States. While Americans are very opinionated, we're starting to grow alike in that political approval rates are on the decline. Surprisingly, approval rates are even lower in Japan.
When considering the state of mass media, where do you think they stand with the United States?
I'd say pretty close, if not identical.
It's close, but there is one major difference. While having all the resources for technology as we do, Japan is by a wide margin actually the highest in the world in newspaper readership. Along with this, of course, is a large number of TV, magazine, and internet outlets. Now that we know the state of Japan, let's talk about the way it was covered in Japan and the United States immediately following the meltdown.
Actually, we can start a little bit further back than that.
How do you mean?
Well, before the earthquake and tsunamis even occurred, the media was covering this event in a way that we've never seen before. Social media like Facebook and Twitter had an instant and massive effect on the way that people received the news. Ordinary people, celebrities, and politicians alike shared, tweeted, and retweeted links, live updates, opinions, as well as prayers for people who were in the path of the tsunami. Major networks, both in Japan and here in the US, gave out facts as they were received, as well as even quoted some tweets that were relevant to the issue. During and after the meltdown took place, media updates were constantly being updated. Without enough time to collect all data in regard to the disaster, media remained in a hectic frenzy for weeks to come. Once that calmed down and the dust settled, we then saw what media coverage was like.
You mean it was fair and equal coverage across the board in both the United States and Japan?
Not exactly. While both were reporting facts, the way they were presented were very different. The United States sent reporters and journalists overseas to cover the issue, but many had zero knowledge of Japan. Without proper preparation, there were many complaints of biased reporting.
When asked if he thought foreign media coverage on this issue was bad, renowned Japanese politician Higashikuburu replied, "Yes, I do." Why did he respond this way? Because according to him and many other in Japanese media and journalism, major United States outlets sensationalized and overdid the issue. Newsweek has even quoted the event as Japan Chernobyl. Another example of possible bias reporting is evident in a CNN article from just 2 days after the meltdown. The article uses forms of the word crisis 9 times, as well as the words calamity, catastrophe, disaster, nightmare, and unimaginable.
In response to the same issue and responding to the same facts, Japanese reporters responded in a "the situation will be resolved as soon as possible" attitude, while Western media generally had more of a "this is out of control" aspect. In an article in Japan Times, also written 2 days after the disaster, we're shown a very different type of coverage. The article includes interviews with Fukushima natives, as well as discusses how and when the villagers should go about evacuating. Just 2 days after the disaster, and with more possible catastrophes looming, the outlet decided to use a more calm and somber tone to this article.
So while both media outlets reported the truth, there are very different themes in the content. If you're thinking that certain outlets might sound inconsiderate, you have to consider the theory of agenda setting. Agenda setting is the idea that media outlets influence the viewer's interpretation and thoughts on issues by highlighting certain aspects. If you think about it, it is no question that the United States and Japan chose to cover the issue differently. Both reported the facts, but the United States was in no immediate danger. They had the liberty to cover the disaster in a more Rupert Murdoch-like way, using scare terms and highlighting the danger and blameworthy aspects. The United States could drive ratings and interest way up.
Now, Japan was slower and more reluctant in providing complete and accurate information to its citizens, and American and British media, such as CNN and BBC, were more open about the catastrophic effects on Japan and those who live close to the plant. With disaster on the home front in Japan, obviously media outlets had a different agenda. Choosing to focus on the efforts being made and the steps to be taken was their best choice. With people having lost loved ones and homes to the tsunami, adopting a "we will survive" attitude helped the country keep calm and avoid chaos. Now, 3 years has passed since the tsunami caused the Fukushima meltdowns, but the topic is still relevant to this day. While Americans were concerned with levels of radiation reaching the West Coast, it has been all but confirmed that there is no immediate risk at this time due to levels of radiation. Some formerly evacuated areas have also been allowed to return home. Now, how does the difference in media outlets translate to today's coverage of Fukushima?
In Japan, coverage is obviously much more in-depth and important to the audience. In the United States and most parts of Europe, the coverage is minimal and only covers the topic every once in a while, when it may have an effect on international travel or the international community in general. In contrast to the current coverage climate of the event, it was completely opposite right after the quake and the meltdown actually happened. The Japan Times covers all aspects of the power plant and has new articles almost every single day on the topic. In comparison to CNN's coverage, they have more than 12,000 articles about the topic online as opposed to CNN's just over 1,000. Each country and network is free to cover any news as they see fit, but after researching, we do feel there are aspects missing in how CNN is currently covering Fukushima. While most Americans are only aware of the radiation issue reaching the West, the issue to Japan is much more like our BP oil spill. Government agencies and companies alike are uncovering aspects and safety issues that may have been ignored by the nuclear plant's inspectors. The public is also questioning whether or not the government and scientists testing the area currently are hiding the real truth from them.
The American public has not been entirely informed as to the state of Japan after the disaster. While the country is not in complete ruins, there are still ongoing investigations and studies, and the issues with the reactors have not been fixed. Each week, Japan uncovers new information with new compiled data. We aren't saying this topic needs to be front page news every day, but it does need to be brought back into light into the United States somewhat. Many people's lives are hanging in balance with uncertainty as to what will happen in the future. It's important to stay up to date with the information before another natural disaster hits, starting new, more severe issues with the already damaged reactors.
This poses a question: is coverage today fair and equal? It is evident that the topic is fairly portrayed by both CNN and Japan Times, but coverage is far from equal. While CNN and other American outlets almost exclusively cover only the aspect of possible radiation reaching us, the Japan Times has covered dozens of related discoveries, including live updates, corrupt business representatives, unethical practices, as well as possible conspiracy theories.
While it may not spark the viewer's complete interest or get the ratings CNN wants, a balance needs to be made in case the worst case scenario happens and the American public is left feeling left out or lied to.
I'm Brock Williams.
And I'm Nathan Lozano.
And we hope we've shed some light to the issue of the Fukushima disaster media coverage.
Thanks for watching.